Hey, in today's digital world, a dealership's website's performance, accessibility, user experience can make or break a dealership's success. Enter in the Google Lighthouse performance test. So what is the Google Lighthouse test and why should you care about it? So today what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the Google Lighthouse test, which is a free-to-use open source tool that's built right into Google Chrome that allows you to measure a dealership's website's performance, accessibility, best practices, and SEO. So these are all the great things that a dealership website needs to have to be highly impactful for today's consumers. There's been a lot of tests and research about how quick a website has to operate, how fast it has to load before a customer is just going to bounce away if they're not getting what they want. And this is something in our industry, the automotive industry, that it seems to have been just ignored. I mean, especially by some of the talking heads within our industry that, claim to be all digitally savvy, whether they've ever sold a car before or they had previous life as a telemarketer, and now they're all of a sudden telling everybody within our industry what they need to do to be successful. So today, what I want to do is let's take a look at the Google Lighthouse test and really how you can use it and hold your website provider accountable to make sure that you're getting what you're paying for. So the first thing that we can look at is the overall performance. The performance section of this site, and actually let me go ahead and just share my screen. I'm going to share my screen right here so you can see it. And I'm just going to take my website, our intice.com. I actually have not done a Lighthouse speed test on this for a while. But so what I'm doing is you can actually see, so I'm just in an incognito window. So an incognito window, what that's going to do is it's going to kind of suppress any outside cookies, cache settings, plugins that are, website plugins, and really kind of give you a clean plate to start looking at your website. So that's what I'm in. I'm in an incognito window. If you need to figure out how to open up an incognito window, if you go in the upper right-hand corner, you can go to a new incognito right there. How you're able to tell whether you're in an incognito window or not is it's going to say that right up here in the upper right-hand corner, and it's going to have a black header like I have right here. And then to get into the part of Google Chrome where the Lighthouse test resides, right mouse click anywhere on the website, go all the way down to inspect. That's going to open up the inspection part of Google Chrome. It might be on the bottom, it might be on the right-hand side. You can choose where you want that to reside. But it's going to give you all sorts of different things. The elements on the page, a console, sources, network, performance. And then if you click on the little two little arrow tabs where it says more tabs, you can go all the way down to Lighthouse. Now, when you run this Lighthouse test, you can actually run it for mobile and for desktop. Since I'm on a desktop, I'm going to run it for desktop. You have the ability to run it for performance, accessibility, best practices, and SEO. Let me go ahead and just open that up a little bit. I'm just going to go ahead and start analyzing the page. And it only takes a minute or two to analyze. And as you're watching this video, open up your dealership website. Make sure you're in an incognito window. Right mouse click, hit inspect, tab over to Lighthouse, open that up, and it is going to give you a score. So this website, intice.com, it performs pretty darn well. 91, 94, 92, and 92. So let's talk about performance. The performance areas where the Lighthouse test is going to perform the test and score your website is going to be on what Google thinks is the most important key performance indicators for a website. And this is whether it's going to be an automotive website or it will be any type of website. The test is the same. So the first thing it's going to do, it's going to score the first contentful paint. So as the browser reads the HTML that is residing on the server where your website lives, it's going to start to paint that website. And it's going to take that DOM element, which it basically includes all of the HTML, so the browser can interpret all of that code and then start to load in the page. So in my case, I have a 1 second paint score or result. Largest paint, 1.6 seconds. Total blocking time, 10 milliseconds. Cumulative layout shift, 0.014, and a speed index of 1.5. Now, really, each one of these categories deserves probably a 30-minute video just talking about each element and what you can do to get these scores better. This video is not that one. Maybe in the future we'll talk about that. But today, really what I want to do is I want to look at the overall scores. But as I scroll down, so I can see here, I got a 91 from a performance standpoint. And you can actually see there's links right in here that's telling you how the performance gets scored. So if you're a nerd like I am and you want to find out more, just click through it. It's going to tell you exactly what needs to be done. And for fairness, let's look at, I can scroll up my site. There's a lot of images on this site. I got a lot of video that's residing on this site. So it's not like it's just a simple site. I got a contact form. I got a footer. I got a menu that opens up on the left-hand side. So there's a lot of things going on. Still, I'm getting a performance at 91. And you could look at this and go 91. Of course, it's green, and we're close to 100. Is that a good score or a bad score? Well, that question we're going to answer in just a little bit by looking at some other websites. But you can see here that there are ways and specific things, opportunities on what I could do as a website developer to actually speed this up. So you can see right here, we could reduce unused JavaScript. This is the biggest. This is the biggest thing that's preventing me from getting 100 on my performance score. So I can open that up, and it's going to tell me every single thing. It knows it's a WordPress site. It's going to say what I need to do. And I can really dig in and look at all of these things. So what Google wants you to do is to be able to run as quickly as possible, and it understands what you can do to run as quickly as possible. So in this case, I have some video playing, so you can see if I scroll all the way back up. This is actually my latest video that I put out a few weeks ago, but that's running through one of our video technology partners, and this is all of their JavaScript that they have running. So in this case, it's saying that it is not fully optimized or it's not fully compressed, but in reality, even though it's not fully compressed and it's not maybe running as quickly as possible, what it's doing for me is worth the payoff. So it allows me to get things like the video SEO. It allows me to have this the video playing as the thumbnail instead of just being a static thumbnail. So it's giving me a lot of really cool functionality. The price is that I'm not going to be getting a full 100 score based on their JavaScript. And there's going to be some other things in here as well that might be from other things. Even Google Tag Manager. So Google Tag Manager is Google's system that allows you to run tags externally and manage those tags externally, so you don't have to have them placed directly on the dealership website. It's a great tool. It's another free open source tool that's available through Google, and even Google's tag manager isn't abiding by all of the best practices needed to get a score of 100. So there's really not much I can do here. This happens to be my server. And I'm also running some things through the Google Content Delivery Network as far as some of the other scripts. So there's really not much I can do here to improve that, but that's what's telling me it's preventing me from getting a good score. And I can continue to go down and look at these different things and to find out what I can do to get a better score. So if I'm a dealer and I'm looking at my performance score, and let's say I'm at a 40 or a 50 or a 70 or a 90 or whatever it is, talking to your website provider and saying, hey, I got a 50 on a performance score. Tell me why that is. Tell me what we need to do to get our performance better, because I'm spending tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars to drive traffic to my dealership website, and I have a 40 on my performance score. So this will give you some ammunition to talk to your website provider to make sure that you get a high-performing website, especially for the amount of money that you're investing in your website. You should be able to have a site that is scoring, quite well. All right, so this whole section here is going to give me the information about my performance. Okay, so now accessibility. Now this actually brings up, and I'm gonna go back here for a second. Let me go back to my main screen. Okay. One of the things that we're doing as a company is we are rolling out our new website platform, our full primary website that we call Intice 360. One of the things that I'm actively doing right now is I'm doing the research in all of the different areas that is important to a dealer to make sure that we are going to perform above the other providers in the marketplace right now by making sure that we're doing the research and we're following all of the all of the best practices, and just finding the best solutions, like the best server, the best way to integrate inventory, the quickest way to get inventory on a page, to be able to bring in video for video SEO and SEO strategies. And one of the things that I just recently spent a little bit of time on is accessibility. And I would challenge you to look at your dealership website and look at that accessibility score. And then you might be thinking, as I did, that as long as I have that in accessibility plugin, the little wheelchair icon or little person icon on my website that gives those accessibility tools, I'm golden. Meaning that my site would be considered to be accessible. And that gives me a level of protection if anybody comes to my website and sees that my site might not be accessible. As long as I got that little widget on there, I'm in good shape. The reality, that is not how that works. Accessibility is based on standards that are regulated by the ADA. So ADA compliance, there is a law around Adults with Disability Acts that makes it imperative to provide a experience for people with disabilities, whether that is in your physical location or your digital location, that you're abiding by certain standards. And there's a whole list of standards that you need to have in place to be compliant. And there's no test out there that just says, check, you're compliant. But basically what needs to happen is you need to have your website to be accessible. And again, those accessibility standards are very strict, and that does open up a dealership for lawsuits if somebody decides to make your dealership the recipient of a lawsuit if you are not compliant. This is one thing that you can be looking at, but just by putting that widget on your website is not going to automatically make you compliant. Having those tools on there is not automatically going to make you compliant. There are other things that you can do. There's actually this browser plugin called Wave that you can run a test on your site, and it'll tell you, all of the errors and all of the challenges that you need to fix on your website. This video is not going to be a review of that. Maybe that's something that we look at in the future, but the first thing that you're going to want to do is look at your website, look at that accessibility score. And if you're not at 100 or close to 100, you got some problems. You need to address them. Having the widget on there is one small part. The other part is having a human go through the website, look at all those errors, and then fix those errors or minimize the errors as much as possible. It's going to be things like the contrast between the background and the text. It's going to be like, are all of the alt tags for every image on your website, is it providing additional value to somebody that is unable to see the image? So with the screen readers and so on, it's going to rely on those types of things, the alt tags, the text tags, whether it's like an H1 or a heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, paragraph. All of those things need to be in place to be accessible. All right, so that's accessibility. Let's talk about best practices. This should be pretty much a no-brainer because there are specific best practices. Oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't sharing my screen. Let me go back here and share my screen again now. Okay, so let me go back to accessibility. So you can see right here, this site is scoring a 94% or 94 out of 100, and it's going to tell me what I am, where it is, why it's scoring what it is. And this is going to guide you in the right direction. That Wave plugin is another great place to just Google that, Wave, W-A-V-E, ADA compliance tool. You can add it right to Google Chrome. You can run your test like that, and it'll tell you what needs to be done, where the errors are, where there's opportunity. All right, next thing is best practices. Again, these are things that we're going to want to make sure is in place on your dealership website. And you can come in here and you can look at all of the things like, hey, are we using an HTTPS? Are we avoiding requesting a geolocation permission on page load? Are we avoiding requesting a notification permission on page load? So you can see all of these things that this website used to pass that score at a 92. The last is going to be SEO. And this really opens up, some really interesting things when it comes to a dealership. One of the things that I found in my experience in working with website providers and working with SEO providers is that most of them are charging a monthly fee, and some of those monthly fees I found to be exorbitant. I found one company that was charging $6,000 a month for SEO. So $6,000 a month. If you're paying that kind of money for SEO, you better have an SEO score of 100, and you should be getting a whole lot more. There's a lot of other things that can be done that will provide as much SEO value as a company that might be charging $6,000. Even some of these premium SEO solutions that might be $1,000 to $3,000 that's provided by providers in the space or even website providers, you really should be able to know exactly what you're getting for that and what they're doing on your dealership website. I've challenged myself a few website providers on exactly what they're doing from a technical standpoint to make sure that their website is utilizing SEO best practices. And again, this is not something that necessarily is rocket science as well. There are certain standards in place that's considered to be good SEO. SEO, I like to look at it more from a creative side and a technical side. The creative side is going to be the what you are creating, the blog content, let's say, for example, the text content that's on the dealership website. How well is that written? What information are you sharing there? Imagery, videos, those types of things. So from a creative standpoint, you have that part of SEO. On the technical side, making sure that you have meta tag descriptions, that you have all of your alt tags that are completed for every image on your dealership website, that you have the image descriptions, you have that you have a title that is following best practices, and that title also mirrors the URL, and that also mirrors the content that's on the individual site, and the content that is on the site, that there's enough content there, that you're providing enough text, and that text is unique, and that text is relevant to what you want the customer to be able to search. What questions are you looking at answer? What information are you providing? So there's some specific techniques that can be utilized to make sure that you are scoring, 100% or close to 100% just by following those standards. So getting you through your website provider and asking those specific things. If you run a test and you see that you're not at 100%, you need to be asking the question, why? What things can I be doing? Is the title relevant? Is the title too long? Is it utilizing the best practices? Do I have enough content on there? Is that content relevant? Is that content written in a way that's answering questions? All of these things can go into this SEO. So I'm going to come back here. I'm going to share my screen, and then we're just going to do some quick tests. So what I did prior to start cranking up this video is I went through a few websites, some big dealerships across the country, utilizing some of the best website providers in the industry. And I just want to share with you what some of those scores are. I'm not going to name what dealerships they are. I'm just going to focus on what those scores are. We're just going to kind of quickly go through that. And this is inside the exact incognito window. These are comparing apples to apples, oranges to oranges, making sure that we're putting whatever tests right next to, or putting every website in a situation to be able to get the best out of the test itself. So this isn't, trying to throw rocks at anybody, but I want you to go to your website and go to your competition's website and run this Lighthouse test. First thing we're going to do is you're going to see performance 42, accessibility 92, best practices 75, SEO 92. Here's another one, performance 52, accessibility 86, best practices 67, SEO 92. Another big store, 40 for performance, 82 for accessibility, 50 for best practices, and 83 for SEO. And I bet you they're paying somebody big money to do their SEO. Here's another one. This is 50 for performance, 72 for accessibility, 50 for best practices, and 92 for SEO. Now this just happens to be our new website platform, Intice 360, 98 for performance, 91 for accessibility, 100 for best practices, and 100 for SEO. So I'm going to leave it there. So all of these things are very, you're able to get those types of scores out of a dealership website. And if you're paying the kind of money that you're paying for your website, for your SEO, you deserve to be able to get those types of scores and provide the best user experience possible to your customers, especially after spending tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars driving traffic to your dealership website, where hopefully your website is set up in a way that's going to convert those anonymous website visitors into leads, and those leads into ultimately showroom opportunities. That's something that we at Intice have been working hard on for the last dozen years. If you have any questions, concerns, thoughts, leave the comments below. Hit me up on my email, david@intice.com. Either way, I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. And you are going to find this video and many others at intice.com.